This is one of my favourite Tunisian crochet stitches, and this is the woven stitch, and it is a combination of knit stitches and full stitches done on alternate rows. And it is like a full stitch sandwich with the knit stitch as the filling. As with the full stitch, the woven stitch requires an even number of stitches, so I have chained 10 to create this foundation row of 10 stitches, and the link on how to do a foundation row is above. The first forward pass is full stitch, so the first full stitch is going in the space between the end vertical bars and the second set of vertical bars. So insert the hook into the space, yarn over and pull up a loop. And I'm going to mark this space with this paper clip. Carry on with the full stitch along the row, making sure that the last space is not worked, otherwise the stitch count will increase from 10 to 11. Above is a link on how to do the Tunisian full stitch. And this is simply a stitch where it is the spaces between the vertical bars that are worked into and not the vertical bars themselves. I'm not working into the last space, but working into the marked space at the edge of the fabric. It's always worth checking the number of loops on the hook to make sure that loops are not being gained or lost. Now chain 1, mark the space for the end of the next forward pass and do a normal Tunisian return pass until there is one loop left on the hook. Now do a row of knit stitches, so insert the hook between the front and back vertical bars of the second vertical bars from the end and continue with knit stitches until the end of the row. The link to the video about how to do the Tunisian knit stitch is above. And as usual, when you reach the end of the row, you push the hook in the marked space, yarn over and pull up a loop, and there will be 10 loops on the hook, and then do a normal Tunisian crochet return pass until there is one loop left on the hook. The previous row was a row of knit stitch, so now it is a row of full stitch, but instead of working into the first space, I'm going to work into the second space between the second and third vertical bars, and continue working the full stitch into the spaces between the vertical bars, this time including the last space because we started on the second space to keep the stitch count the same, in this case 10. And the 10th stitch goes into the marked space. And now for a normal Tunisian crochet return pass. The next forward pass will be a row of knit stitches, and now for a normal return pass. Until there is one loop left on the hook, and now for the full stitch again, and this time we work into the first space, and I'm going to mark this space so I know where I am, as it produces a useful point of reference, because with a full stitch it is extremely easy to forget whether the first stitch of the previous row of full stitch was into the first or second space. And just keep going with alternate rows of Tunisian full stitch and Tunisian knit stitch until the fabric is of the required size. I'm just completing the last return pass for my swatch of this woven stitch, It is a really attractive stitch. One slight problem with it is that the fabric does tend to curl a lot, as in the knit stitch and full stitch, but if this fabric is incorporated into a beanie it really doesn't matter. So my top tips for this stitch are: number one, to keep an eye on the stitch count because it is easy to gain stitches or lose stitches, and secondly, to use stitch markers to make it easier to know where you are as the fabric builds. And this is it, the very beautiful Tunisian woven stitch.